Welcome everyone to Real Estate with Gwen Price, and I'm happy to have with me Trina Tallon from Neighbourhood Dominion Lending, and we're doing our monthly market update. Lana Watier couldn't join us this morning, but we'll talk about what's going on with a few different things. And how are you, Trina?
I'm great, Gwen. How are you doing today?
Good. The sun is shining and finally starting to feel like spring, and that mess I've got in my backyard, the snow's starting to melt, so it's all good.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, and I'll just go over a few little stats quickly, and then we can talk about the budget. But just to let you know, there wasn't a significant difference in the average sale price in the city of Greater Sudbury from the end of February to the end of March. We're still hovering just under 500. And that's just houses. That's not taking into consideration commercial, multifamily, or vacant land. That's just houses. So it's up about 31% from last March. And we are still seeing lots of multiple offers going on, but I have noticed in the last little while that some houses that were listed didn't get the offers that they were expecting on the day of on the offer presentation day. So I'm thinking part of that is people have started to raise their listing price, and they're not, they're not going like $3.99 and hoping to get $5. They're trying to get around $5, but it's just interesting. So I don't, and thinking that there wasn't a lot of difference between the average sale price. Maybe we're starting to see some changes where things are starting to plateau, but I don't know. There's still a lot of crazy things happening with huge, 100 and something thousand over list price, 200,000 over list price. So there's still some of that going on, and it's really hard to put your finger on things right now.
100%. I find that it's been since the March break that there ended up, it almost feels like there was a little bit of shift in what was going on with the multiple offers and things like that. I know that during the March break, I had a number of clients who ended up winning their offers, but I found it interesting because there either weren't any other offers on the properties, or their bid was just high enough, but it wasn't, they weren't really way over the top on their bids. So I don't know. And, some people are saying, oh, it has to do with the interest rate. So it has to do this, has to do that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I would hate to be a politician in this climate.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to know what to do because there are so many variables out there right now.
Yeah.
With everything opening up, people are traveling. Is that part of what's affecting, the multiple bidding and things like that, where now people are able to get out and go and do things?
I think that was true maybe for March break, that a lot of people did take off and leave the country. Actually, a lot of my friends were down in the warmer climates, right? So of course, if you listed around that time, you're probably missing some of those people, but I don't know that, interest rates don't seem to have affected anybody that I've talked to that's looking at buying. They just want to buy, and they're trying not to get into multiple offer situations. So it might be, just depending on the product. Like New Sudbury is still very active. When something comes up that's listed just under 400,000, there's lots of people looking, right? Because of that price range.
For sure. Rates seem to be the biggest shocker for people lately for a couple of different reasons. We got very spoiled by free money during 2020 and 2021. And I'm finding now that the insured rates, the less than 20% down rates, have kind of bounced back to where they were pre-COVID. Okay. Because now we're up at like the 3.69 to 3.89 mark when you do less than 20% down. And of course, it's a little bit more when you do more than 20% down. Refinances are even higher than that. Rental properties are even higher than that. But every person, every real estate agent, every lawyer, every every financial advisor, every client I talk to and let them know where the fixed rates are now. It's like a big shock. And, 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 you know, to explain that, but they are where they kind of should be at this point.
Yeah.
And they increase so much because there's so many different economic factors that are going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the fixed rates are so dependent on what economy is doing and worldwide economy and inflation and things like that. It's not, you know, directly linked to our politicians. It's not directly linked to cooling a housing market. One thing I do want to mention, though, that a lot of people are not aware of, Gwen, you may want to spread the word. Prior to the rates going up to like where they are right now, the 369, 379, because they were so low, everyone could qualify at the benchmark rate of 5.25%. The little rule with that benchmark rate is that it's either qualifying at 5.25% or your contract rate plus 2%.
Okay. So
what that equates to is if you do decide to go with a fixed rate and the fixed rate is 3.69, that means you have to qualify at 5.69, not 5.25.
Yeah.
Now, I've always been a huge fan of the variable. I stand by the variable. I would say close to 75 or 80% of my clients go with the variable because variable is still coming in at about 1.6%.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it's the prime rate with a discount, right? So if we look at the less than 20% down, folks, right now it's sitting at prime minus 1.1. So that takes us down to like 1.6%. Now, tomorrow, Wednesday, we're expecting that when the Bank of Canada looks at the overnight rate, that prime rate is going to go up 0.5%. Who cares? Most clients are still around like the 2% to the 2.1% mark. And you're still winning because even if you had gone with a fixed rate in the last year, your variable rate is still less.
Mm-hmm.
And you can still be qualified at the 5.25%.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, I mean, and a lot of people, you know, and we've been hearing so many things. Oh, and people had this sense that the sky is falling and none of it's true and all this kind of stuff. But you do see indicators of trying to slow the market because real estate's been so, the prices have been climbing so rapidly. But there's still a lot of buyers are wanting to get out there, still wanting to buy. And it's just a question of the inventory is still lacking because actually the number of I found listings really we're still at the same point we were last year. So there's still not very many listings for a few buyers, right? So
well, we need more inventory from the perspective that we need new physical houses being built, and then there's challenges with that, right?
Absolutely.
The amount of trades that are out there, the cost to build now is about $250 to $300 a square foot, and so on and so forth. And I've had a crazy amount of people like just calling me up and saying, Trina, I want to buy a lot and I want to build a house. And my response is always, I'd love to help you and I'm going to help you. Have you talked to a builder? No. When are you thinking you're going to build? This summer? That's not happening.
No, and I get that asked the same thing because oftentimes people think, oh, because of the craziness of the resale market, I'm going to go build a house. Well, it's difficult finding a lot. And then if you do find that lot, is it a service lot? Because sometimes people do want to be in the outskirts. And there's a lot of costs that people haven't really been keeping up to date on because they haven't built a house or maybe ever or never for quite a long time. And you're absolutely right. The trades is a huge factor that there's not enough tradespeople and also you know, their wages have increased. The certainly the cost of material has been just double and triple in some cases. So all of that adds to that cost of that house. And yeah, when are you going to get somebody to do it for you? It's hard to even get somebody to come and give you a quote to do anything in your own house, let alone build a whole house, right? So, and there's very minimal new construction going on this year. It's very difficult.
Well, we're still living, I feel like, in a little bit of a time of uncertainty, right? Where, even Duncan and I every once in a while sit there and go, okay, let's sell our house and go find a little bungalow somewhere. And I said, right, okay, no.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And and we were talking about, the budget. What did the budget do to help all of this? I don't think there's anything that's going to be making a drastic change right now. They're talking about doing some different things, but like the first time buyers are going to have a tax-free home savings account, but that's not going to help them if they're wanting to buy right now. That's going to help them maybe in the future, but it's still not something that's going to significantly change, and that doesn't help the amount of inventory we have. And even seniors, I think it's seniors wanting to sell, where are they going to go? It's hard to find an apartment. They're on waiting lists for a lot of places, either apartments or retirement homes, and not all of them can afford to pay $2,000 for an apartment or $4,000, $5,000 a month for a retirement home. So they stay in their home, which is fine as long as they can continue to maintain it and that sort of thing. So that whole group of people aren't putting their houses onto the market. So the amount of inventory isn't going to change drastically overnight. We're still going to have that same idea of not enough inventory. But I don't know, how did you feel about some of the stuff in the budget? I thought, okay, they're going to talk about building affordable homes, and even there's going to be a home buyer's bill of rights and some rent to own projects and all this kind of thing, but none of it is going to make a change right now.
It's one of those we'll see what happens kind of thing, right? As far as the TFSA is concerned, I believe, and Gwen, forgive me, that I was off for all of last week, so I'm playing catch up right now. Just so the first-time home buyers already have the home buyers plan, which is contributing to RSPs, right?
Yeah.
So the home buyers plan is not just for first-time home buyers; it's for anyone who hasn't owned or lived with someone who owns a home in the last 4 years. So that's a wonderful program that's already established. As far as the TFSA, I believe there's an $8,000 a year cap on it.
I think they can save up to 40,000 or something, but yeah, they're limited to what they can put in that each year. Yeah.
So it is nice to have that. I just haven't read enough about it to what's the difference between that and our TFSAs kind of thing. So I need to read on that.
Yeah.
The mortgage industry a lot of the mortgage industry was hoping that for first-time home buyers that they could qualify at a 30-year amortization as opposed to a 25-year amortization, which would have made a significant difference in affordability for the first-time home buyer. But I will tell you, aside from the budget, and again, there was a lot of push for the first-time home buyers incentive, but the problem with that first-time home buyers incentive is that the market has priced itself so high now that what people actually qualify for without it is much higher than what the incentive can offer, because there's a maximum on the incentive.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's any real relief right now for anybody really, and maybe like interest rates will have an effect in trying to cool the market, but nothing is going to change drastically that I can see. there's talks of stopping blind bidding. And that's not going to make the prices come down, and people keep waiting for the prices to crash, and that's not going to happen. They're going to plateau, but stopping blind bidding, I can understand where people are coming from, but that's not going to reduce prices. Just you're going to know what your competitors bidding on an offer. But even that, I don't know when that's going to come about either. So nothing really has changed yet.
Well, and part of the concern about the blind bidding, money laundering really affects real estate. So I know that is a concern for the lenders out there and the banks out there. I know that we're living in a challenging time, and we have been for a couple of years now, but it's getting more challenging when it comes to money being lent out.
Yeah.
And it's a lot. We thought there was a lot of documentation at the beginning of 2020 needed for mortgage lending. It's increased. The banks are really tearing apart every document that they get their hand on.
Yeah.
And I often tell people, well, you need to take a look and pretend you're in their shoes. They're lending you money, and there's interesting things going on in your bank account, and we have money laundering issues in Canada. So you need to get me whatever they ask for.
Well, exactly. And rightly so, because I was pretty naive living in my bubble, not realizing that all these criminals were doing all of these things. I mean, same as the foreign ownership, they're trying to stop that, right? And freeze it for 2 years or something. And a lot of that did. I mean, definitely it affected the market in BC a few years back, right? There was all this influx of people buying, and they were living in these properties. They were, laundering money through them too. So yeah, we do. We have to protect our system here, and that's what the banks are trying to do, protect, to make sure that there isn't all of this going on. And because all of that does affect the average Canadian. We just didn't know all this was going on in the background, and it affected all of us.
And it's an adjustment for everyone. I spend a lot of my time interacting back and forth with the underwriters and the document specialists at the lenders, because here's what happens with a lot of people don't understand. In the process in the background is, okay, we do your pre-approval. I take a look at your documents, get you pre-approved, and then you put in your offer. Every mortgage commitment that we get back has conditions in it. And those conditions need to be fulfilled. And there's regular thing, income and down payment, like period on a purchase kind of thing. Yeah. But if they see anything funky in your bank statements that have happened in the last 90 days, or deposits that are out of character, or, I've had some clients where they knew the rule was if it was $10,000, then it was going to be asked where it came from. So once a week they would put in $2,000. Well, that adds up to $10,000.
Yeah,
they're going to question. So, and I spend a ton of time going back and saying, "Are you kidding me right now? Like, I'm not asking my client for another document. Go deal with this." And but it's difficult because they're no longer allowed to really put common sense into what they're doing because of the fear of, the government coming in and auditing and things like that. So cross your T's and dot your I's if you're going in with an unconditional offer.
Well, and I mean, we have to do the FinTrack, which is, getting proper ID from someone. And if they gave us a whole pile of cash or tried to give us a whole pile of cash, we got to report that. So, but it's there for a reason, right? But it does complicate the whole process when you have so many more requirements to meet the threshold of documents that the underwriters need and the banks need and everybody needs to make sure that everything's legitimate, and yet there's still stuff going on in the world, right? That somehow the scammers and the people like to do things like that, they still have a way of finding their way in, right?
Exactly. But
Yeah.
we're gonna get through it, Gwen.
Yeah, we
because
are.
Every generation has their thing, and every year there's something new, and there
Yeah.
always has been, and that's just
Yeah.
how life is.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, it's still
And really pretty good life.
well, and you know, and when I think about things, we're very fortunate to live in the city we live in. I know there's all kinds of, you can complain about everything every day, but when you look at what's going on in the rest of the world, we're a pretty safe place to live. Yes, our prices have risen drastically in the last few years, but we are still well below the average sale price for Canada. And
For sure.
just hovering around the 5, when I think now it's up to 700,000 or 800,000 for Canada. So that tells you what's going on in some of the bigger centers that have, it is totally out of reach. It's still, yes, you know, there are people that will not be able to afford to buy a house, but there's still opportunities for a lot of people to become homeowners, you know, and start that whole process, right?
And if they're on the borderline for affordability, you know, don't go buy the snowmobile and the quad and the expensive vehicles, and, you know, take your, like, you know, it's okay to buy a used snowmobile that for the cash that you have, or you know, wait until you have the house before you go and start fulfilling the dreams of owning all kinds of other wonderful things, right?
Absolutely. That's because the test of time shows that real estate is a good investment. It's solid.
Absolutely.
And so get that, then get the toys you want for sure. Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Trina.
Thank you, Gwen.
We'll see what happens in the coming months. I hope for peace in Ukraine, and
Yes.
you know, and that we have more peace in the world for everybody. And I'm just thankful where I live for sure. So,
me too. And have a great Easter weekend.
Yes, that's coming up. Yeah, happy Easter. Take care, Trina. Bye-bye.
Take care, Gwen.
Bye.